30 seconds for your question.
Thank you. Hi.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure we got you there. Okay, go ahead.
Now? Okay. Hi, I'm Dr. Niva Thompson. My question is for Doug. The question is, if you want to just start off just like you did, what is the first thing that you would say that you would do first? If you just starting off in real estate, just starting off and trying to figure out what, if you want to do commercial or whatever, what is the very first thing that you did that we can be a take-home for us?
So, as John said, you got to specialize in something. Okay? The question is, step one. What's step one of real estate? There's residential real estate. There's leasing shopping centers, how I started. There's leasing industrial buildings. There's leasing office buildings. There's selling land. There's being an investment broker where you're selling properties. So you need to find out what you love. Like, I really, really love retail. And another thing about retail, which I liked, if you're doing industrial, you got to be in Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, LA. You got to be in the big ports, okay? Don't get me going about ports because now there's a strike, but it's another topic. What I like about retail is I can take it anywhere in the country and build shopping centers. When I started, my father passed away when I was 22. He was an insurance salesman. I didn't have any money. Like I told you earlier, I lived in an apartment. I was 41. I rolled my money, and I continue to roll my money to this day. I don't spend a lot. If you study wealthy people, which I study all the time, wealthy people don't spend money. They invest their money. They roll their money. So there's ordinary income, which is a paycheck, and there's passive income. You want to create a fountain of cash flow for your future. And I don't care if it's just buying a rundown shack, dumpy house, fixing it up, don't turn around and sell it. I built 4 CVS's. I could have sold them and made a ton of money on them. I've been milking them for 20 years, getting all the debt paid off. I won't get into specific numbers, how much does the cash flow to me, but real estate wealth is created over a lifetime. Like he said, it takes time, but don't buy that house, flip it, pay taxes on it, and go spend the money on garbage. I quit spending money on garbage. Everything I buy, I roll my money. I don't own a car. I lease a car. Because a car you can write off if you lease it. Owning a car is the biggest waste of money in the world. I have millions and millions in what's called second-to-die life insurance. When I die, I'm going to have an estate tax. I don't want to have to sell my properties. So right now, I've got a lot of money in second-to-die life insurance to pay my estate tax off so my family doesn't have to sell the properties. So you got to continually, life changes as you grow. You get richer, you get poorer, and you got to keep changing with that. But you got to live within your means. 50% of your money is going to taxes, okay? Live off of 25% and invest the other 25%. Your money will grow from small potatoes to a field if you're patient and you just keep rolling your money. But you got to specialize in something. Can't do a little residential, a little office, a little retail. Tom Brady is great because he was a quarterback, not a linebacker and a kicker.
Did you have a follow-up on that? Or
No.
we go to the next question?
Next question.
Okay, next question. If you would, stand up for us and introduce yourself and your question. Let's get the camera on you. Hold on 1 second.
Amber Connor, and my question is for both of you. When you've discussed working with local governments, I'm wondering if the real estate community has gotten together to brainstorm when we're dealing with large property tax hikes, pushing back against the local government by asking that if you put your property a little under market value, let's say you're renting out space or you have a rental, keeping that rental cost under market value, and in return getting a huge tax incentive from the local government in order to encourage that affordable housing instead of having property taxes skyrocket, which causes a lot of people not to invest in that area. Is that something that you guys have thought about or look to see there's a possibility or a benefit to the real estate market, or is that something that would not benefit
That's a
the
good,
way that you invest?
good question. Good question. As Doug said, for me, I go to the Economic Development Department. They have charts, spread charts on the production of growth in the area. They also can help you with tax deferred. They can also set up a meeting with the city council. They can also set up a meeting with the mayor's office. They're actually a branch from a local municipality, but they work independent. So that way you can get an excellent idea of the growth in the area. They have graph charts, they'll explain it to you. If you sit down with them and schedule an appointment with them, you'll see that what new product is being brought to the area, what is being sold for, what is being rented for. So it's a very good starting point, so to speak.
So great question about property taxes. I try and fight every property tax, okay? During COVID, obviously rents went down, vacancies occurred. You need to go in there and show them the value of 100% center versus 75%, what it's worth now. And I fight them. You know, I keep my eye on my money, okay? So fight them, okay? You can also hire a consultant that this is what they do full time, and they only take a percentage of what they save you. So it's not like you're coming out of pocket. You know, as developers, it's like grocery. How much money, I'm so sick here about price gouging. How much money does a Publix, for every dollar you spend at Publix, how much money do you think they make? How much? They make about 3 cents. Publix, Kroger. Last year, Kroger made 1.6 cents. Aldi they're about 6, 7 cents. They're the highest profit grocery store because they're private label, very little labor, no deli. So all these people, when you come in as a developer, he'll tell you the same thing. They think you're making so much money on these properties when you're not. The margins are super, super thin on a lot of properties. You've got construction costs have tripled, high interest rates, high land prices. You know, and from a development point of view, the retailer can't pay that $50 a square foot in rent. Real estate's an end sucker game. Don't be the end sucker. Okay? You guys hear that? It's one of the key phrases. You got to really look at the margins you're making because these people in the city watch too much TV of the rich developer on The Bachelor. And that guy plays it up. But I can tell you, I don't have slick back hair and a Ferrari. So you got to explain to a lot of people, I'm not making a lot of money on this, and show them the numbers, and you can't afford the property tax. They won't care. They want their money. But hire a consultant and just fight it every step you can.
All right, next question.
Hey, this is Zulpe. My question is both of you. If I have to be a fresh investor, what should be my take for a residential property or a commercial property like a strip mall or something, looking down my residual income or safe income and appraisal of my investment property coming next 10 years ahead from now?
The question is, which sector would you move towards if you had to go from scratch? Residential, commercial, which one?
Depends how much money you have. You want to buy Lenox Mall, you want to buy a little junky house in Jonesboro. There's no set answer for that. Personally, I would stay away from office. If I was starting out today as a broker, I'd go into industrial. The commissions are huge. It's going to continue to grow. Retail is nickel and dime money in the brokerage world. It's always evolving. You know, with industrial, you're dealing with Kohler toilets. With a shopping center, you got TJ Maxx, and they got what's called a kick-out clause. If Target closes, they can close, and it's a stack of folding cards in retail if you don't know what you're doing. You know, for some of you that don't have any money, start out buying a little junky house for whatever. I got a friend, he's buying houses in some rough areas. He's subdividing the rooms up. He's probably cash flowing $15,000 a month now. So it all depends. I wouldn't buy a piece of raw land and sit on it and pay property taxes. I want income as soon as I buy. That's what I want. I'm done with new development. I just want income the day I close. So I don't have the answer you're looking for. I'd stay out of office. I'd either go industrial. Retail, you better be pretty savvy or you'll get burnt.
The answer to your question, I would go into U-Haul storages because management is less, your profit is higher. I would go into row townhouses, development, singles. There are party walls. You could build 7 in a row. That saves you the load burn cost for another additional building. You could reduce your cost there. I would go into multifamily mixed use. That would be apartment above and commercial on the ground floor, only because the SBA will give you a PERM, a non-recourse loan for the takeout, so you're not personally guaranteeing it. Any event they take it, you hand over the keys and it personally doesn't hurt you. So there are different avenues to look at. I personally, I'm not a retail expert. He is. I'm more of a wholesale. I buy, and I already have my exit before I go in there. In other words, I work with local community groups. They have a row of approved people to purchase these single-family houses. I mean, a line, literally, hundreds. And all you have to do is build it. And all they have to do is sit down and fill out the paperwork. A 1003 application, 1, 2, 3. The government guarantees their loan. You sit down and you develop it. They move in, you close. They got so many closing cost incentives. This gentleman here knows what I'm talking about. He's an attorney, real estate attorney. Doesn't take much. It just takes the right people around you to invest that money wisely. So that way you have a takeout. If you don't have that takeout, as I recommend, don't go in.
You know, there's a really good YouTube channel called Trailer Park Millionaire. You know, John said you got to be an expert on one thing. This lady leases strictly to sex offenders. She's made millions because they have nowhere else to go. And she can raise the rents on them because they don't have a choice. So that's dominant real estate. I mean, I don't know anything about trailer parks. I've always sort of been intrigued by it. And it's a really good YouTube video to watch, the niche that this lady has found.
We have time for 2 to 3 more questions, and then we want to shout out our sponsors and tell you about our free giveaway as well. Next question.
So I'm Sam Brown Parks, and my question is, you're talking about when you're starting out, or you don't even have to be starting out, but when you're finding your special interest, do you ever take depreciation value of that property into account when you're thinking ahead? Are you thinking, well, I know you have an exit strategy, but are you thinking, how much can this help my overall tax liability? And if it were better for housing, would you consider doing more low-income housing if it had a depreciation perk for you from a government standpoint?
So depreciation, the question is, how do you analyze depreciation in real estate? So here's what happens. My goal was always pay debt down. So the first 10 years of when you go get a long-term loan, you have your construction loan when you build the shopping center, and you go and get what's called a permanent loan. And you want like a 25-year amortization, so your cash flow is bigger, okay? The bank is going to call that loan in 5 years because they want to see where interest rates are. So the first 10 years, you're getting a lot of tax write-offs because you're really not paying down the loan, you're just paying interest. But then there's something, thank you, Uncle Sam, it's called phantom income. Have you ever heard of that? Well, the next 10 years you're not making any money because the government is taxing you on income that you're not making. So every big developer has debt. Limited debt on real estate is good. However, I sat there for 10 years not making any money on properties because I was paying a tax on what's called phantom income that the government set up. But I muscled through that. A lot of my properties are going to be debt-free now, so I don't have to worry about lenders. And my cash is just, the money's coming to me and not the bank. There's another thing you got to be really careful of. It's called accelerated depreciation. So I could buy this building, and I can write off everything in this building the first year. The lights, the ceiling tile, the floor, the doors, everything. Okay, and get a huge tax write-off. The issue on that, if you sell the building, you have what's called a recapture tax. I don't know who sits around and thinks all these taxes, but they do. So if you do what's called accelerated depreciation, be careful when you sell that because you're paying all that money back. So only do accelerated depreciation if you're never, ever, ever, ever going to sell that property.
I'm Atir Sheth. I'm with Falcon View Properties, and my question to you, gentlemen, is the exit. When do you realize that your time is up? You should cash out, especially when you have 4, 5, 6 times multiple in equity, or as you were saying, the cash flow component is important. So when you've accumulated a portfolio, at what point in that timeline do you suggest that you realize that it's time to start to unload? For example, buying a property in Midtown Atlanta in 2010 for $100,000, which is maybe $500,000 or $600,000 now. Is it worth holding on to this, or is it time to cash out?
That depends on the actual real estate, if it's residential or commercial or residential. Okay. In this market, I wouldn't cash out and sell. I would refinance it, take the cash from the refi, and buy whatever else that you're going after. But I would keep that as a cash flow. I wouldn't sell it. I really wouldn't. Because 10 years ago, I've got to be honest with you, I was buying properties here for $15,000 and $20,000. Wow. Now, I could take you to the worst place. It's $100,000. You just can't do it. So, in essence, why not take $80,000 out of that $100,000 property and buy something else? But keep it. Keep building your portfolio. Keep building it, whether it's residential or commercial. Keep building it, because everyone here has played Monopoly. You got four greenhouses first before you get that red hotel. Now you know that. So that's same product.
It's a good question. When do you fold the cards? I folded the cards when I got real. That's when I folded the cards. I had some health issues. And I looked at my kids who were, at the time, 15 and 10. My wife, who's going to run this empire if something seriously happens to me? So that was one factor where I probably sold 15 of my centers. Second factor is, what kind of life do you want? You know, I'm 65. You know, do I want to keep schlepping around the country building shopping centers and dealing with idiots all day? So I took a lot of my properties that were giving me headaches and I sold them. And I sold my high tax properties that the property taxes, the great question previously about property, they were draining me. My tenants couldn't afford the property taxes in our triple net leases. So the money I was making from one center was going to feed that high tax center. So I sold those. And as a developer, you're constantly rolling your money and you don't have cash. I was 60 years old. I didn't have the amount of cash that I wanted. So I sold a bunch of properties and cashed out on a bunch. I had so many properties that, thank God, I have cash from selling them, and I also have cash flow. But it's taken me 40 years. 40 years. I didn't make my first real money till I was like 41 years old. So I started when I was 24. Takes a long, long time. And like I said, you don't need 43 centers. Buy 5, 6, 7 properties. Do not sell them. Cash flow them. Refinance. You don't have to pay taxes on that money when you refinance. Go buy another property. Live below your means and build up your future. And it'll happen if you work the plan. But you got to be disciplined. You just can't, well, I got a great offer, I'm going to sell it. Like I said, I built 4 CVSs. I could cash them out like that. No way. I don't spend my money anyways. I don't want to live a big life. I just want to produce income and income and income. Then it goes into a trust where my kids can't touch it. So it's just a big game. It's never been about the money. To me, it's always just been the action, the fun, and it just came.
All right. And our final question of the night. Okay, all right.
What do you do for fun? What do I do for fun? Well, I don't play golf. I don't play tennis. I don't go to the beach. I don't really like vacations. I love coming up here and talking to you guys. I love the next deal, and I love writing shopping center books.
Put my name on your will.
That's my fun.
Put my name on your will. That's how you do.
Huh?
But he has to put his name on your will.
On my will. Well, my will is a trust. So no one's getting my money even when I'm gone.
You can trust that you're not getting that.
I
Okay.
just like to work. I could sit here till midnight. I left my kid at the house. Go feed yourself. I'm going to talk about shopping centers.
Hi, my name's Crystal. My question is, how do you hedge your bets, so to speak, if real estate or being an investor is like a gamble against things that are inevitable, like 2008 and COVID?
Well, if you start at doing something you love, like you said, then you're not working. Now that, it's like breathing air. You continuously talk about it, you continuously do it, no matter what it is. It could be, I just happened to start out as a carpenter. So for me, construction, what was the next thing? So after carpentry was to own a general construction company. So that's what I did. And then, okay, now how do I raise capital? Okay, so I went back to NYU to learn how to raise capital as a developer. Okay, so now how do I participate with the big boys? Now I know I could go to Wall Street and get 70 cents on the dollar for this particular project and raise the additional 30% with private investors. So there's a each level, each stage, each platform that you master, you continue to keep growing. And before you know, when you look behind you say, oh my God, I did all these things. I feel good about myself. And I teach my children the same thing. Real estate, real estate, real estate. Location, location, location. It's very important. I mean, they have to survive after I'm gone. Like you said, I just don't want to give them the money. Then they're going to blow it. They're going to ruin it. Not intentionally, because if you don't teach them how to manage it, you can't expect them to develop good habits. So you have to educate them right now. Show them, I bought this, I bought that. I saved this, I saved that. I refinanced this, I refinanced that. This is the bank to use. Go see Mr. Such and Such. It's important.
So the question was, how do you hedge yourself against a downfall? There's a friend of mine that built over 100 Kmart centers. I always take them out to lunch because I want to keep hearing this over and over again. Good real estate will always bail you out of trouble. Always. Okay? The new thing besides location, 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 it's now location plus market. Because I could own a CVS in Jonesboro, or I could own a CVS in Midtown. And guess which one's going to be more valuable? Midtown. Even though it's on a main corner and it's a CVS. So buy good real estate. Know how to sell. I'm telling you, you got to know how to sell. I just got done speaking at the University of Arizona real estate classes last week. As soon as you graduate, go take a Dale Carnegie sales course. You got to know how to sell. And you got to have, as John said, you got to have decent real estate. I know being next to Walmart, I hold a pretty good card rather than being next to a Piggly Wiggly. Okay, I'm not going into small town Mississippi next to Piggly Wiggly. I'm going to get slaughtered. But I am going into small town Mississippi next to Walmart Supercenter. So position yourself. Half of your life's success is positioning yourself in the right place. Starting out, I had no money, zero. Drove a beater Buick Electra 225 car. That was my dad's. Lived in a rat-infested apartment. Didn't have girlfriends because I didn't have any money. Okay? Just the way it was. You know? Let's face it, you guys like the money. But what I did when I started, knowing I couldn't compete in Midtown and Buckhead and Lawrenceville, I went to Shamokin, Pennsylvania and built shopping centers there where I'd be the only guy that landowner's ever talked to in 20 years, and he'd give me the time to put the deal together. And I'd go to Minot, North Dakota, Jamestown, North Dakota, Huron, South Dakota, Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, and every other small town because I could get my foot in the door and not have this guy behind me offering more money for the property. I was the only guy. Either I buy it or you sit here forever with a piece of farmland. So position yourself in a place where you have strength.